Hi.
It looks like I'm not the only one who's not having a Lekker Friday, ne? Hi, guys.
Hi, Lebo.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining today's class. Today we're going to be talking about research meeting the 11 outcomes. So basically, what I'm saying here is, obviously I'm using my personal masters as an example, because obviously it's always good to refer to something in terms of examples. But the concept here is that you can use this for any research, really. So for example, you are at work, you need to solve a problem, and then the problem needs you to do some type of research. So when I say research here, obviously the target people are those with a master's, because really they want to know really how do you align the master's to the 11 outcomes. So naturally, all I'm going to be doing really is just showing you the different components that are in a master's. How do they actually fit into the 11 outcomes? So what I'm going to do is, when I talk about a particular outcome, the floor is open for us to discuss, guys. As we know, the class is never, is not going to be the best if we don't actually discuss. So what I want from you guys is just interaction. I'm going to just touch the outcome, and then if you have a question, you please feel free to ask the question at that point in time. So with that, I'm going to just, give me a second. I'm going to just, I want to share my screen. Please, can I get confirmation that you see this thing is so low? Again. Yeah, I wanted confirmation that you guys can hear me clearly. Can I just get confirmation? Can you guys hear me clearly, like clearly? Because we're recording this. It's very important for us to have good audio. Refill, I see you there. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. I don't want, because sometimes my son drops the volume here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share the screen. As we all know, so let me just go over the rules of the game. We've been doing this for a while, so I think the rules are kind of obvious. But for those who are, let me just go.
Mute his mic, please.
You see now, this is what I'm avoiding. Guys, the rules of the game, please, when you are not asking a question, you have to mute yourself, because the noise is really interrupting on this side. Because remember, we are recording this to share it with the rest of the nation. So let's try and not disturb the sound. And then if you have a discussion, so my preferred style is to not save questions till the end of the, of course, there's going to be questions that we'll take under general. But as we talk about a particular item, if you do have some point of clarity, my preference is for you to actually ask that question when we are there. It just works better before we move away from that point. So we've got the hand function. So please use the hand function. So, because I can see the hand function from this side. And then, yeah, today's class is really going to be short. It's Friday. And really, there isn't too much to it, because it's not like a case study or anything like that. So I assure you, I also, I would like to actually have a Lekker Friday. So I think it's gonna probably take an hour. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. But why does this thing go to the bottom? Sure. Yeah, I know. You know, this thing always gives me drama. I don't know why. They've now changed it to be something else. These things are at the bottom. Now I can't see them. Guys, just give me a moment. I'm trying to, oh, come on. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Can I just get confirmation that you can see me on that side? You can see my screen.
Yes, we can, Lebo.
Lovely, okay. Welcome, guys. To those who just joined, welcome. We're about to actually officially start. So just for those who are new on this platform, all of this, so I call it mass mentoring, because at least this way we are able to reach a number of people without even being there. I do have a YouTube channel where we are going to load this video. So everybody who's here should understand that this is going to get recorded and it's going to be shared on my YouTube. I ask you to kindly go and subscribe. This YouTube has really helped a lot of people, especially the people who are put in abeyance, you know, because normally they have to address outcome 1 and 2, 9 and 7. And it really helps, especially with group 1, because the group 1 is the one that actually fails people. So just note that this mentoring is brought to you by Inspire the Next Movement, and I'm the president of that movement. And literally what Inspire is about really empowering other people through coaching and mentoring. That's all it is. We are saying, you know so much, why are you sitting with it? Share with the world, you know? Then I always say to candidates, this is a very important point. If you are getting trained by anyone, especially if you do go to CPD accredited type of training, it is very important for you to know who is actually presenting to you, because that helps you even know if they are competent to actually give you that type of training. So guys, don't do this thing, because there's been complaints of people going for CPD training and getting trained by somebody who's got no clue about whatever they're training on. So this is just a little bit about me. I'm MaLebzaa. I hold a BSc and an MSc in engineering, electrical to be specific. Then why am I fit to give you this type of mentoring? My history with registration issues is actually tabled here on the slide. And as you can see, since 2010, I was a member of the Professional Advisory Committee, but obviously this is for electrical. Then I was vice chair in 2014. Then in 2017, I was chair of the Policy Development and Standard Generating Committee. Currently, I'm the chairperson of the Stakeholder Relations. And coincidentally, I'm very passionate about candidates really getting the support that they need. I keep saying this to people that even ECSA does say when you are doing this thing of registration, you need to have a mentor, you know. It is just something where somebody needs to guide you, especially in terms of what you need to write and how you need to write it. There are a lot of people who actually think the report is about writing about projects, how complex the project is, and that is not correct. Guys, this thing is about your personal contribution. The TERs, I'm going to say this because it's very important. The TERs are your evidence of how you built your competence, meaning to say from the time you graduated to the time you have an area of competence. How did you, how did you build your competence? So what the TER do is they capture evidence against the 11 outcomes. That's what it does. And then once you write the engineering report, that is evidence of your competence. So what you are writing there is things that you are competent to do. And when I say competent, I'm meaning that it is work that you can do without supervision. One of the mistakes that a lot of candidates are doing is that when they write the report, they are tempted to put things like, I did the design, I gave it to whoever to check this for me. You cannot do that. Remember, competence means you can do the work without being supervised. So naturally, once you've done a design or a solution to a problem, it will sit at some committee that is going to review and approve it. But the issue is, you are somebody who is able to solve a problem and it goes straight for approval. So I say to people, do not, if you find yourself saying, along with the assistance of those things belong in your TER, because that's where you are telling the reader how you built your competence. But once you get to the engineering report, everything you write there is evidence of your competence. So it should start with I. I designed, I investigated, I analyzed. My report, and people normally say they like to use their report. No, in the ER, it's not their report, it's my report. So, I mean, we've already done a class on this, so I don't want to talk too much about that. This is just my background. Then naturally, last weekend we had, okay, is that a hand? Okay, I see the chat. Let me see what's happening.
Oh no, guys.
You can't hear.
Are you not sick?
Somebody says they can't hear me. I thought Refilo could hear me clearly. Can I just get confirmation? It looks like somebody's saying they can't hear me on this side. Can you hear me, guys?
Perfectly, Lebo.
Yeah, somebody's saying they can't hear a thing. Okay, if the rest of you can hear me, it's fine. Okay, so last week we did our first webinar, and Refilwe, you see Refilwe on the platform, was actually the facilitator at that webinar, and the title of that webinar was Benefits of Registering with ECSA, and it was really, really awesome. We wanted you guys to be motivated to get your PR, and then we wanted you to, once you have that PR, know how can you optimize it, you know, to work for you, because it does actually work for you. So for those who are not present at the webinar, please go to the YouTube channel. It's Inspire the Next Movement, and then you will find the video there. What is important to note, a lot of people send me messages saying it's only 21 minutes long. There are separate videos for each speaker. So what you will find there is that each and every speaker is going to have an individual video. So you have to watch, I think there's a total of 4, and we are still going to load the Q&A. Yeah, that's just about last week, Friday's event. And then the problem that I encountered, and I'm still encountering now, is I don't even know how people are still able to send questions after the event has passed. But a lot of people still ask, what are the requirements? And that type of question is very disturbing for me, because if you actually want something, you need to be already doing your research about that thing, what is needed, because if you don't know what is needed, you cannot align yourself properly. So with every event that I do, I definitely put a slide where we talk about the 11 outcomes, just for those guys who are not familiar with the 11 outcomes. All I want to say for today's class is that the 11 outcomes are divided into 5 groups. Group A is the core. It's the core to engineering, because it is solving engineering problems. Guys, please note, what a lot of people misunderstand is that they think this is about projects. No, it's not about projects. It is about solving engineering problems. So that is what's crucial to note about Group A. And what is important to see here in the other column that says responsibility, what this means is when you are writing your engineering report, you need to be at this level. Level E is the highest level of responsibility, and it's the one that I was saying to you guys, you are working without supervision, right? So please, for today, I don't really want to dwell on this. But as you can see, Group A is about solving engineering problems. Group B is about managing engineering activities. Again, a lot of people feel like their experience is not adequate if they don't have projects, like if they didn't manage a project. No, Group B is about managing an engineering activity. Sorry, Aunt. So yeah, and then Group C, we all know, and what is important for us to understand about Group C is that when you are doing any type of engineering work that we do, it's got impact on the people. It makes people's lives easy, but it also impacts people. I work with power lines. Normally, if we choose a servitude, there are cases where we need to relocate some of the houses. So basically what Group C does is it wants you to be conscious that any engineering activity is going to have impacts. And these impacts are normally environmental, social, economic. So you need to be conscious of that. ECSA doesn't want you to go do an EIA report, no. What they want you to do is be aware that there is something called an environmental impact assessment. And then what are you supposed to be doing with that? When you are designing the solution to a problem, you must mitigate those impacts. Guys, just give me a moment, please. So what you are supposed to be doing is mitigating those impacts when you are designing the solution, right? And obviously, I always say to people, what is happening with outcome 3? This is your textbook. This is theory in a textbook. Outcome 7 is the theory applied to a particular area. So yes, the textbook tells me how to design a power line, but what outcome 7 tells me is how to design a power line in South Africa, how to design a power line in Canada. A good example is, if I'm designing in Japan, I have to design for earthquakes and mudslides. If I'm designing in Canada, I have to design for snow. I'm just making examples. So what the outcome 7 does is, normally you will see when you calculate this thing as per the textbook, sometimes you need to modify the answer that comes out. Why? Because it doesn't really work in that particular area. It's the same as Cape Town. Cape Town really has high wind. So normally you will find that if you are doing a design in Cape Town, you might need to go above that minimum wind speed that is specified. That's all you need to understand about outcome 3 and 7. When you do your work, you are not allowed to do anything that is outside of your regulation, your statutory requirements. And what a lot of people do is they talk about, I did this, I assumed this, and they don't say where they took that assumption from. What is very important for you guys to do is to say, as per SANS, what, I am doing whatever. So you have to mention that. Then with outcome 3, what normally a lot of people don't do is they don't specify software they are using. When you are doing the calculation, you need to say it was a manual calculation or I used some software, and then that takes care of the theory. Then another question that a lot of people ask is like, how do I identify complexity? So definitely what you need to be understanding about complexity, which is what engineers should be solving. You cannot solve a complex problem without applying some theory. So I'm going to leave it there. Group D, for those who are not familiar with the outcomes, what you will see is that a lot of people that get either put in abeyance or they get declined. It's because of group 9, because group 9 is applying sound engineering judgment. And I always say this to people, outcome 2 is a giveaway because the solutions are available in industry. So when you have this problem and you want to solve it, how to solve it, in fact, you are going to find different ways of solving it. Né? When you do your literature, you're going to find. So literally, PR-Eng is about applying sound engineering judgment. You are going to have 4 options. You are going to tell the reader why you prefer a particular option over another option. That's sound engineering judgment. The minute you do not have options, there is no room for you to even to apply judgment. If the answer is straightforward, it means you are doing clearly defined problems, which is the type of work that should be done by technicians. It's very important for us to understand this. When you write your report, please, 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 you have to say option 1. And I always tell you guys, you know, as your mentor, please listen to me. I assure you, this is like gold. You always must, your option 1 must always be do nothing. Then naturally what happens, you are gonna tell the reader why do nothing is not preferred. Normally do nothing's got high risk. If I do not do something about this, it's going to kill people, it's going to pollute the environment. But you must have do nothing as option 1. And I must say, the reports that I've been reviewing, like in the last 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, I can tell that the people have gone to the YouTube video and they've been watching it because they've written the report exactly the way I say. So normally, as a guide to you, option 1 is going to be do nothing. Option 2 is going to be basically your Rolls-Royce solution, the one that you can do perfectly, but normally what's going to prevent you from doing that option is cost. You will find that the cost of that thing is normally too high. So that's what happens with option 2. It's like, okay, this thing is old, I can build a new plant. What's going to stop you is obviously the cost. Then you will see that option 3, option 4, option 5 are going to be phases. Okay, I can start with this portion of the plant, follow with this. So I'm just giving you an example. Obviously it varies. It's going to vary depending on what you deal with. But what you need to know about outcome 9 is the same as outcome 1. So when you are failing, you must know that outcome 1 and 9 are the ones that you have not fulfilled properly. Another thing that I need to say before we move off this slide is this. When you are writing your ER, guys, I want to just pause and say this properly. When you are writing your engineering report, it is very important to note the following. The engineering report, you take your most complex work where you are responsible. Because what is happening now is people are ending up rewriting everything in the TERs. When you get to the engineering report, you cannot give 3 examples per outcome. Your report is going to be very long unless you know you are capturing particular aspects in those examples. For example, one of them is a design, one of them is an upgrade, one of them is a refurb. I'm just saying, maybe you are capturing different aspects of outcome 1, but you can't do this thing of using 3 examples because normally what's going to happen, you are going to rewrite the TR. Remember that this is another mistake that people do. Everything that you write in the TR has to be referenced to some TR. Sorry, everything you write in the engineering report has to be referenced to some TR. You can't just put information in the engineering report without saying it's coming from TR 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 7. So that's very important. And then outcome 8, obviously, as you can see, it's a giveaway because literally all you have to do is just say you are ethical, yes. Or when but the tricky part about outcome 8 is that only your referees at the time that they are going to sign off your report are going to be the true witness of whether you are ethical or not. Then responsibility, we've spoke about this. By the time you get registered, you need to be a responsible engineer. You are literally the same as somebody who is registered. The only difference with you is that you are not accountable. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very important for you to understand this. Recently, I read a report and you know, the first example that was written there was at responsibility level D. And then I immediately said to the candidate, you know, level D is just discounting you because it's not even at the right level that is required. So it's just going to take away. And also, why are you repeating it? Because it's already in the TR. Guys, just remember, in the TR, you are going to have varying level of responsibilities. But once it doesn't meet the requirement in terms of level, don't put it in the engineering report. And then obviously her explanation made sense. She said, no, it was the only example she had for designing a particular something, which is great. But the fact that it's not level E, it's already disqualifying you. Some of the people are going to obviously read the whole report. Somebody else might just see that as a start and just get turned off. So I always say to people, don't put things that are going to maybe be a trap for you. Outcome E, group E is just initial professional development. It's all the activities that you undertook to actually build your competence. This slide I'm going to close by saying, by the time you get ready, this is very important. When you are training, ECSA says you can register after 3 years. So what we are understanding is that you are afforded the first 2 years to be taught, to learn how to do a particular something. Because in university, you are given all fundamentals. When you get to industry, you work with a particular activity. So what I always say to the candidates is that when you are writing your engineering report, your area of competence needs to be very clear. I am a civil engineer whose area of competence is building roads, bridges, I don't know what it is. In my case, it's power lines, and to take it further, it's high voltage power lines. It's very important for the reader to have that context of your area of competence, because competence is the place where you can do your duties and be responsible, meaning to say you take the account. Okay, so remember, you're not registered. You're not gonna account before you get your PR. But literally what I'm trying to say is that area of competence is the place where you can design safe solutions that will not endanger the people and the environment. And by the time you register, you have to be at the level of somebody who is registered. If you can see that you are not there, guys, I say this, please assess yourself. What some people are doing is like, maybe don't do that. You as an individual need to look at these outcomes, look at the level of responsibility, level of complexity. I'm telling you now, it boils down to 2 things. It boils down to 2 things. level of responsibility, and the complexity. Nana, please check if the sliding door is closed. These mosquitoes. Yeah, so let's leave this slide there. So the only other thing that I wanted to say to you guys is this. So sometimes, depending on the type of work that you do, you could probably write the outcomes in this sequence that ECSA gives you. I'm gonna also show you when I do the research meets the 11 outcomes, sort of like a different, another way of writing your report. Then this is like ECSA, as you can see, is grouping them according to similar activities, right? But if you are solving a project or a problem rather, excuse the word project, if you are solving an engineering problem, what is going to happen is these outcomes are not going to be sequenced like this, definitely not. So what you can do, I call it a MaLebzaa sequence. I've shared it with those people who have been attending. I forgot to tell you guys, please drop your email address on the chat box. Everybody who's attending today will get a copy of the presentation. Whoever is not attending today is not getting a copy of the presentation. And I don't want people to be sending me WhatsApps asking for this, please guys. So let us just leave this, because this is for your reference. Like every time you write your report, you need to be conscious of which outcome you are meeting. Let's go. Also, what I've done is for the purpose of you just checking yourself, I have added a slide that just tells you about the level of responsibilities. What does A mean? What does E mean? I'm not going to talk about it. It is there for you to appreciate and read. And then when you evaluate yourself, you're going to be having a clear understanding of what level D means. So you will see that the core outcomes, you have to be here. So you are responsible, but not accountable. What accountable means is that you don't sign off the designs. That's all accountability means. So normally you're going to design, somebody else is going to sign off the report, because at this point you are not having a registration number, but in terms of how you execute your work. And this is why you will see that some people work for 15 years without having PR eng. You see? So literally by the time you get registered, you are operating at the level of a PR range. It's just that you are not registered. So I see that, I just want to make sure, yeah, so you guys are just dropping. Another thing that I want you to do, please make sure that the email address is correct. For me, it gets so frustrating if I have to respond to individual emails where somebody says, I didn't get the notes, and then, it's because the email is incorrect. So please do yourself a favor and put the correct email address, because I am going to share these notes. I do create them, but again, I always say, I'm not here to spoon feed people. I'm only interested in people who really want PR. And I mean, we've done a lot of work in 2020. So many people have gotten registered. So if you are somebody who wants somebody to feed you. Unfortunately, this platform is not about that. It is really about somebody who wants this thing and then needs some clarity and guidance in terms of the right direction, So look at this slide at home. So I'm gonna need to move yes, okay, there we go. So let me so what did I click now? I clicked something by mistake. Okay, so guys, here is the crux of today's class. So what I wanted to show you guys is literally when you are doing your research, how are you using the different components of the research to fulfill the 11 outcomes? And remember what I said, I'm using, just give me a moment. Okay, so this thing doesn't allow me to go there. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm literally using my own masters because it's easier for me to reference to certain things. So remember what I said at the beginning of the class. After I talk about a particular outcome, if you have some point of clarity, I prefer for you to actually clarify while I'm still on that outcome. So let's start with outcome 1. So remember, outcome 1 is define, investigate, and analyze a complex engineering problem. So what is crucial to understand when you are doing your research is that at some point in your research, you are going to have a problem statement and you are going to have research questions, isn't it? So for me, here's an activity that normally happens when you do your master's. You need to go into the internet, go into it's not even the internet, it's these it's not councils. It's conference platforms, you know. What normally you will find there is a paper. It's a published paper on a particular topic. And literally, by the time you write this problem statement, you have to have checked what other people have done. Because with a master's, you cannot repeat somebody else's work. And naturally, by the time you define the problem, what normally happens, you are going to be solving some current challenge that is in industry. So literally, when you finish that research and you have come, because by the time you pin that problem statement down and you list your research questions, you have already investigated, analyzed, defined, right? This thing, you read papers, and then at the end of the day, you see what people have done and you see what's missing. Your research is going to be on the missing piece of that particular challenge in industry. So in my case, I was just doing high SIL methods, which is high surge impedance methods. And literally what ESCOM wanted to understand is, are we losing out by not implementing high SIL lines or not? So, you know, so basically what happens here is that some countries have implemented high SIL. So in my research, the unique scenario was that I'm looking at ESCOM's network. And remember, ESCOM's network is unique. Let's go to the second part. The second outcome says design and develop a solution to a complex engineering problem. So now in my research, literally what I did is my research was based on, it was all simulation, right? I could model things, simulate, and then to arrive to the research answers. So then what I did here, I'm just showing that I was simulating using software. Here are the different software packages that I used. And basically what is crucial to understand about outcome 2, when you are writing your report and you say to somebody, your paper got published at SIGRE, at PowerGen, those type of conferences. I'm talking now the technical accredited, you know, platforms. So normally you'll see in your research, every result or every piece of the puzzle that you solve, that can be a paper on its own. So don't wait to write a paper on the full research. Every little piece that you conclusively solve, you just write a paper. So in my particular case, to arrive to my answers, to answer the questions, remember the research questions, I had to do simulations. And in my case, I used 3 softwares. There, I've put them there. So please pay attention. In your research, it's going to be different. Some of the people are going to need to build a prototype, isn't it? For them, it's not going to be simulation. It's going to be a prototype where they collect, I don't know, pollution samples. But just pay attention to the fact that in your case, it might be something else. What I want you to take home is that as you are solving, of course, everything comes in stages, you will see just now. But as you solve the piece of the puzzle, you need to just publish a paper. It's very important for you to, you know, when you are technical, at least when somebody Googles your name, something must come out. So what a lot of people do is that they do such great research, but they never publish their work. So in my research, I published 5 papers and I published 2 posters. So a poster is just something that summarizes the finding just at a snapshot. So this is nice because these are things that live forever, ever. They're part of your legacy. So you have to just publish, guys. So those are the research results. Research results is the same as a solution, isn't it? You're having research questions, you are answering the research by getting some answers through something that you do. I see somebody's got a question. Okay, somebody's unmuted, I think. And now I can't see because, guys, please don't unmute yourself unless you want to ask a question. Ne? When we come to outcome 3, ne, it says comprehend and apply advanced knowledge. Remember what I said. For people that are engineers and technologists, you cannot, if the problem doesn't need you to consult some theory, it's a problem. So what I'm saying here is when you are doing research, what happens is you're going to do a literature review. Literature review is what other people have done. It's previous papers, because normally you will see that in your topic, some components are going to be answered, but not all of them. So literature review, references are papers and journals. The bad news for you guys is when you do your master's, unfortunately, every university's got a minimum number of references that you need as a minimum. So then I'm saying references, literature, what is it? It's things that are additional to theory. It's people capturing the theory says, but in real life, it works better this way. So I'm just saying outcome 3 boils down to, if you say to the reader, in my research, I referenced 50 papers, you have already covered outcome 3, because that's the literature. In my case, it was SIL and high SIL methods and compensation devices. When we come to outcome 4, which is managing part or all of one complex engineering activities, guys, you know, before you even do your master's, there's this thing called a proposal. You can't even carry on until the proposal is approved. You go and you present it at some committee, and then it gets approved by that committee. So what you're understanding by the proposal is that your research questions and the research topic that you are saying, I want to carry on and investigate this. By the time your proposal gets accepted, it means that it is a unique area. You are not, what is that word that they like to use? Like if you copied somebody else's, you know, normally they put the stuff on 10in. 10in is a platform. Pardon? Plagiarism. You can't copy people's work. Yeah. So when you do your proposal, you will see that, this thing is actually a lot of work, because you can't get to a proposal without doing literature. And then another thing so what do you need to be understanding in terms of managing an engineering activity? You managing the timelines, because you will see that different deliverables have different milestones. So that is equivalent to managing an engineering activity. It's not that complicated. Before you get to the proposal, before you actually write that report, that final submission, the one that goes to the internet, you have managed some activity, because you don't get there without a commitment and a clear direction. Communicating clearly with others, which is outcome 5. Literally, when you have a proposal, you need to go present it. You don't submit it to somebody. You go to a committee. I mean, at VET, they had quite a big committee that takes in all these proposals. So you go there, you present your abstract. Even when you have finalized your research report, you go and present the answers to that research. So all I'm saying to you guys is you will see that even presenting these papers, we spoke about papers, you go to a conference, you present that paper. That is outcome 5. I think you can see that, meeting the outcomes is very, very straightforward, right? So communicating clearly with others, the fact that you have a proposal that is accepted means you've gone there and presented some abstract and everybody is happy with your plan. Now, when we come to outcome 6, because I am dealing with power lines, in my case, addressing reasonably foreseeable impacts boils down to ionizing and non-ionizing field effects. Because we do know that power lines, you normally see them, they're very high. And then obviously if you're building a power line in the desert versus building one like in an urban area where there are children crossing the line regularly, you need to ensure that those field effects are below the statutory requirements. In your case, it's going to be something else. You just need to take my example and interpolate for your research, what was it that was an impact? For example, people that build bridges, what are the things that are you going to ensure to make sure this bridge doesn't fall on people? Obviously, there's going to be things like wind speed, there's going to be things like, I don't know. I'm using my research because obviously that is what I'm familiar with. So in my case, you will see that there are different bundle configurations and different towers. But what is crucial is for me to ensure that by the time I say to somebody, here is the answer, I have mitigated these effects, because these effects can really impact people if they are not taken care of. Then outcome 7 says, meet all legal and regulatory requirements. Remember what I said, whenever we are designing, when we do design, there are certain standards and regulations that you need to comply to. if you are doing your work, I am telling you now, and I am promising you now, if you are doing your work and you do not have standards that you are complying with, it's a problem. So what I am saying here, remember, I'm looking at these impacts. These are the possible impacts. Also, it's not just ionizing, and because I wanted this thing to be one slide, I tried to summarize it. But remember, with a power line, there's also impact of the actual power line, because there's visual impact, isn't it? There are birds. Sometimes birds fly into the power line because they can't see it. Then we have to put like these red and white balls, even for aircrafts, just to make it the power line visible. So all I'm trying to say is this, in my case, ionizing and non-ionizing field effects are a crucial one, because they cannot be corrected once the power line has been built. You know, corona, for those of you who are electrical, you'll know what corona makes noise. So if you don't build that power line properly, people are not going to be sleeping. Audible noise, radio interference, it is very important. So what happens in the standard, it's going to tell you, for the electric field, you have to be below X. Inside the servitude, at the edge of the servitude. For magnetic fields, you have to be at this level. For audible noise, for corona. So the standard is going to give you remember also, these are like the minimums. You can obviously build better. For some of you who have maybe gone to like Japan, you will see the power lines in Japan, they're like in the sky. So because obviously they have money, I think. They put them so high up. And the minute they are that high up, you don't even worry about limits, because limits are sort of like a criteria if you build them just to on the border of what is the minimum requirement. So in South Africa, we literally, there's a minimum, and then if we build it where there's people, we take the power line higher, or naturally, because people could be walking under the line, somebody could walk with a stick. It's very important for you to just go and check in that standard. Standard is literally legal and regulatory requirements. What are they saying? And when you have done this theory, yes, you've calculated it, fine. But if that advanced knowledge doesn't give you an answer that is within the legal requirement, you have to do something to improve it. In power lines, normally it's taking the power line higher. When you lift it, you normally reduce all these fields that are going to be impacted. Also, because it is simulation, you can play around with the conductor bundle, the configuration and the tower types. So then we've just gone and said, you have to comply. You don't have the luxury of getting an answer that is outside of the requirements and then just running with it. You have to comply. What happens with outcome 8? I just need to move my screen. Outcome 8 is conduct engineering activities ethically. What is beautiful about a master's is that by the time, these mosquitoes, by the time you actually, now you've written your report, it is ready for examination. What normally happens at that stage, you have to, if you're an ethical person, obviously you've gotten help. Normally you can't finish research without assistance from other people. So you acknowledge people. There's a declaration there that says, I promise that I have not copied somebody else's work. And then, by the way, when your report does get approved or endorsed, when you do pass, this is literally outcome 8. Conduct engineering activities ethically. If you're doing your research and you are going about, before there was 10 in, there's apparently a gentleman, some people are brave. There's actually a gentleman who took somebody's a PhD and redid it and then owned it because there wasn't 10 in at the time. But when 10 in, was then in place, they put all this research through that system. And this research came out, boom, exactly. Well, this story is very scary. I wonder if it's true. So what you need to be understanding about outcome 8 is if you already you are somebody who holds a master's. Now I'm talking somebody who holds a master's. I'm talking somebody who has had a paper at a conference. Remember guys, when a paper is accepted as part of the program, this is great. It's literally outcome 8 where people saying this work is original, this work is unique. Sound engineering judgment, this one is like a serious one. So when we are talking about research, outcome 9 boils down to the research methodology. I want to just say, guys, when you are doing your masters, those who have a master's, you will know that before you even get into simulating, interpreting the answers, documenting the answers, you need to have a clear research methodology. I'm going to do this first. This is going to feed into this. This is going to feed into that. And I've noticed recently that people that actually do a doctorate, they get the different chapters of the report, sort of signed off as they go. With a master's, I don't know if it's just me, but with a master's, you finish the full report and then it goes for an examination and then the results come back. And normally when they come back, they're going to tell you that there's some component that is missing. Then obviously you have to go handle that part. But normally outcome 9, applying sound judgment is your research methodology. Is you telling somebody, and also I forgot to say, when you do research, you will see that in for example, a chapter that talks about the problem and a chapter that talks about the results, you will see 1.1 is the same in both chapters. The other one is 1.1, the other one will be 5.1. And so everything is like sort of in sequence. So you have to have a clearly defined research methodology. I want find here because there are some people who want to run into answers. With research, you have to have a clearly defined research methodology. And normally what happens, you will see that you need to solve A before you get to B, solve B before you get to C. Just that, guys, is good, a very brilliant example of sound engineering judgment. Another very good example of sound judgment is you actually getting a topic. Because remember, for example, you are working at where you guys are having this problem at work, then your research is to solve this problem. But for you to zoom into a particular small area within that, so let's say, for example, I'm talking with power lines, but for me to actually have zoomed into high SIL, do you see that, guys? That is sound engineering judgment, because from reading what other people have done, I could say, okay, the missing piece of the puzzle is this. That is also an example of sound engineering judgment. So then you will see, Guti, a clearly defined research methodology. What it normally does is it also helps you with the report structure. I want to give you guys a tip. Normally, if you have a clearly defined methodology, you are going to even have a report structure. You are going to have the headings and the subheadings. And then normally what happens is as you do the work, you can fill in, you know, the content for that subsection or for that. So really a research methodology is very strong evidence for sound engineering judgment. When we are talking about being responsible for making decisions in complex engineering activities, this just literally boils down to that topic. Just calling it whatever. In my case, I think it was saying, can high SIL methods eliminate series compensation? It was something like that. Or there, I've got it here. So here was my topic. My topic was consideration into using high SIL lines in place of series compensated compensation. This should be compensation on high voltage transmission. So responsibility is you being content, you being confident to even go to that committee and present that topic. That is clear direction that you are somebody who is responsible for making decisions. Because unfortunately, if you just don't even get to a point of saying, here is my research, nobody's going to do it for you. So I want you guys to know that when you are writing your engineering report, identifying the research topic and that research topic being approved, which is basically your proposal, that is a perfect example of outcome 10. Don't even stress yourself. When we talk about outcome 11, which is undertaking initial professional development, somebody who is not muted. Can somebody, guys, I asked so nicely, can you mute yourself, please? So when we talk about outcome 11, to undertake initial professional development. So literally what you will see with research is you are going to get new skills. There's no, because with research, and by the way, when you do research, it's so funny that you never have the answer until you do the research. So, and also another good guide with research, if you can answer the problem before doing the research, then it's not a research topic. So what I wanted to say is, when you are talking about outcome 11, you have to use your master's as part of outcome 11. In fact, when you are ready, if you are registered, it becomes CPD. It's worth 5 CPD points. So you will see that when it comes to developing skills, you will acquire a lot of new skills. In my case, right, because I'm a line designer, when I did my research, I literally had to acquire skills on system operation. Oh, the limits. So actually my research joined 3 things. It joined line designing, it joined power line planning. So remember that there's somebody who plans and then says to us, we need a power line from Joburg to Cape Town. And then there was system operation, because high SIL methods have impact on stability. So yes, you can improve one aspect, but you know trade-offs, it's a trade-off. So then what I want to just show you guys now, because we are literally almost done with that class. So I wanted to show you, remember earlier I said that some of the people, and so it's so interesting. Yeah, I'm so proud of you guys, because I'm noticing that people, depending on their experience, can make a clear decision of whether to address the outcomes the way they are in sequence at ECSA, or write it in the logical way of solving a problem. And literally what I'm seeing is that people are able to make that decision actually without even consulting me. And this is really great. That's what I want. I want you to use the approach that works for you. Now, what I want to show you guys is this. So remember just now, we spoke about the different activities, but in the sequence that ECSA outlines the outcomes. So then what I'm showing you guys here is the logical way of solving a problem. So when I was doing the research, this was like the logical way that I went about doing the work. And look at this. So what I'm saying is like, okay, now obviously when you are somebody who's, the first thing is for you to just identify a research topic, isn't it, guys? Before you even go register for a master's, you need to have some area. So I'm just showing you the logical way of writing these outcomes, you know, using your research. So the first thing to know is that the fact that you are doing research is because you have identified some topic, or normally your boss is going to tell you, hey, we're having a problem with this. Who wants to go and investigate? So if I did my master's before I registered, the first point was going to be just, okay, I identified this research topic because of the following. Now, once you've identified the research topic, what follows, guys? You have to do literature. Literature is that thing that's going to tell you within your research topic what has been done, because you will be surprised how when you think you're the only one who's facing this problem, other people are also facing that problem in industry. So the second part I'm showing you, so you see what's happening. In my story here, outcome 10 is actually outcome 1, if I was going to write it. Outcome 3 is outcome 2. So I'm going to say, ESCOM wants to know if high SIL methods could be beneficial for ESCOM's network. But now I do literature. I go see what have other people done with high SIL methods, right? Now, in my case, I saw that only Brazil and India have actually implemented these methods. Other countries haven't, and part of the question is to understand why. Why are all these first world countries not using high SIL? So you will see now, you have a research topic, but remember it's broad, it's not yet zoomed in. You do your literature. What happens after you've done you've read those 50 papers? Now what happens? You are able to arrive to a problem statement. One thing that is very, very, very good to have, and your proposal will not get approved without, is research questions. So you will see literature review is going to inform your problem statement and the research questions that you're going to be answering. What happens with that? you are now able to write your proposal. You said, Thomas did this, Pam did this, Lebo did this, I'm going to do that. Now you go there, you confidently tell the guys, you know, for my research, this is what I want to solve, and these are the questions that I'm going to answer. So the question have to be clearly defined. When you are writing your engineering report, it boils down to just putting them like that. My area is power lines. The questions are the following. After literature, my topic was the following. Then we come to 3. 3 is what is where you're going to present it. Guys, you will know also, the proposal is quite a bulky and a document, actually. But, you know, an abstract is something that summarizes. It summarizes the picture of what your plan is very nicely. So as you can see, the abstract and the proposal, sorry, the abstract, oh, okay, so just give me a second. So remember we spoke about the problem statement and the research question. So you're going to capture that as an abstract, because at this point, you are planning to look into the answers. You don't have the answers yet. So then normally your proposal is made up of that. What is the problem and which questions do I want to answer? What happens after that? Now you go and say, I know what the problem is. I have 6 questions that I'd like to answer. Now you can go and decide on the research methodology. Let me make an example. So some of the people need to probably in their research, they're going to do something on a desktop. So maybe like do calculations, simulations, and then they might even have to build a prototype to actually test that thing. So obviously when I say, once you know what the problem is and you can clearly define your research methodology. I'm going to do desktop, I'm going to do simulation, I'm going to do tests, I don't know what it is, but I'm just saying at that point you can now have a structure. That structure is going to save you a lot of trouble because once you have the structure, you can just fill in the blanks. Obviously, once you know how to go about doing the research, what happens? You need to understand in that research topic that you've selected, what are the impacts? What are the foreseeable impacts that you will need to mitigate, right? You see that. Once you know what those impacts are, you need to go look at the regulation. What is the standard saying about this impact? I need to be below this, the power line can't be lower than this. So that's what happens as a follow-up step. And then once you know what the impacts are and what the regulation is, now you go and do the simulations, isn't it? Remember, in your case, it might not be simulations, but in my case, it was simulations. These simulations that I'm doing, what do? They are going to give me answers. And normally what it does is that, okay, by the way, when you have research questions, by the time you get the research results, it has to be specific, which it's answering question 1, question 2, question thingy. So normally then what happens, a crucial part of having results, guys, I need to warn you about this. How to document results is not a straightforward thing. So that's why I'm saying outcome 9 is literally applying your mind on how best can I document my findings. And a good guide to use is that somebody can follow your logic clearly without consulting you. They can go and redo the work by themselves. That is like a methodology or an approach that is juicy. Like it is transparent, it is clear, it doesn't leave somebody with open-ended questions. So then I'm saying to you, you are doing the simulations. Remember what I said, every piece of the puzzle, you just need to make sure you publish a paper. Where are those papers of ours? Here. You get answers, 1 paper. You get an answer, 1 paper. So then I'm saying to you, when you are doing the simulation, also you need to document the results. And how you document the results needs to be clear. Like somebody needs to understand, this is an input to this is the answer that I got. And remember, even assumptions, a lot of people fail. When they write their report, they fail to mention the assumptions that they made. You need to be very clear to get this is what I did. And I'll tell you now, there are a lot of people who think they can do a master's because yes, they know so much, they've seen so much. But the thing with research is that it's not me knowing that this cup is red, you know. With research, I need to convince somebody that the cup is red. So I think you guys follow me. Then remember, now we've got our solutions. We are documenting the results. Then where's my 9? There. Now, once you've got all the pieces of this research, you've answered the questions, a good ethical thing to do is to acknowledge people that have helped you. Also, you will see there's a page there where you need to sign and say, I promise this is my work. I have not copied anyone. So then once you've got those answers, which is basically your research report, you acknowledge the people accordingly. And then number 10 is what you have. So managing this, it's an engineering activity. To eventually get to this, guys, it's work, okay? Like those who've done a master's, you will even know that even how you label figures, how you label tables, there's a table of equations, there's a table of figures, and all those things are sort of like automated, you know? So the way you do everything has got a clearly defined standard. And then once you've got your report, what happens? You know, even I noticed that this thing of writing reports is really a skill, like it's an acquired skill. So if you don't do it, at least, you know, if you don't do it often, when you are in university, for you to actually get your BSc, there is a research report that you will write. But normally what happens, if you can find yourself going to a workplace where you don't write reports, you actually lose that skill, the ability to write reports. Because it is something that you like sort of need to practice to get it right. And even like the tenses that you write with and the stuff. But then outcome 11 obviously is that you have acquired new skills, you know. You will never, and normally with research, what happens is that it's not just you who will acquire new skills, because all these papers that you are publishing, they are going to be responding to something. So then definitely you're going to even empower other people. I think that's it. So what you will see when I send you these notes is that obviously the logical way to approach a research or a master's or any type of research really, these red numbers are the logical way to approach it. By the way, this is open to discussion. If somebody maybe says, yo, 60 should be 7. Yeah, that can be possible, because remember, I'm just one human being. So probably if we put our brains together, we could probably even get a more powerful sequence for this. With that, okay, so now I can't see, where's that thing? Okay. With that being said, guys, this is literally what the class was about. And I want to encourage you guys to just like tell your peers, your friends who are in engineering, to go and watch this video. I never say this to people. Those videos are there on YouTube for you to go watch, but obviously they're not going to be free forever. So you guys need to sort of optimize what is available. I mean, last week event, I gave away a prize. I had a masterclass free of charge on that YouTube channel. It's so crazy. The first time I opened it, I gave it away as a Women's Day contribution. 18 people watched it. And then the second time I opened it last week, Friday, literally it's got 35 views. So this just goes to show that the people who are really serious are going to find the empowerment. So I say well done to you guys who have actually watched that video. So just encourage other people to go watch. I mean, some of the people that I actually review their reports, they haven't even been to a masterclass. They are just people who watch the YouTube videos, and after that, they just have clarity. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, I've stopped sharing. So now I'm going to just check if we do have any questions on the floor. You know, whenever I do these things, I do try to, so English doesn't love us, guys. You know that. English doesn't love anyone. The Queen's language is really difficult. So my goal is always to sort of make something very straightforward. So I hope maybe the way I captured it is very clear and straightforward. I was just trying to see something here on the side. Okay, so I see we do have the email addresses. This is great. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do after this, probably tomorrow, I'm going to send you guys this presentation. And then to load it on YouTube, probably I'll see when I will do it, because I do have some things to take care of tomorrow. So let me just check. Is there anybody who's got a point of clarity? Because I know the guys that attended the last masterclass we had really were interested in how to use their research to address the 11 outcomes. Guys, let me just get some feedback from that side. Are you guys clear on sort of, you know, how should you use research? Because all research, regardless of is it a master's, is it not, needs to be kept. That's how you can use the work that you've done to address the 11 outcomes. Also, what I wanted to say to you guys, exactly the way I've showed it to you on the presentation. You don't have to go dig and tell people, I went to the secret website. No, you just say, I referenced 20 papers. You just say, my results were within the statutory requirements. That's like literally, because remember when you write the report, it does have a word limit. So I say to people, don't write things that actually, all you must be writing there is evidence for your competence. But I wanted to say that I'm so like happy to see that the classes we've done during lockdown have really helped. You know, recently I see Tandega, I'm not sure if Tandega is the lady that I was reading her report. Yo, she wrote that report like a rock star. Guys, do yourself a favor and go look at that YouTube channel. It's going to help you greatly. And obviously another problem is that obviously it's there for you to reap the benefits. But obviously if you don't utilize it, it's not always going to be there for free. Ne? That's just like how life works. So my goal, the people know that are in my coaching group, my goal is to actually transform the stats. That's my goal. So the material is there to transform the stats. If I can just see those numbers transforming, my life would be sorted. Guys, I saw somebody had a question. Was it you, Moses? Somebody had unmuted themselves. I just want to go copy these emails before I lose them. Guys, does anybody have a question? Okay.
High level? Maybe
Go
I
for
can...
it, Rufile. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just copying the emails because I know when I close this class, I'm not going to be able to get to them. Yeah, go for it, Rufile. I'm just copying them and keeping them safe.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Lebo. I mean, you know, a lot of us that have done their masters have thought that there's no way it assists with your professional registration, but you've just really made it clear and you know, also with regards to how we can structure it.
Yeah.
So I've got two quick questions, Leona.
Okay.
The first one is that obviously in your reports you need to have a mentor and a referee. I'm assuming in this context that will probably be your supervisor and lab manager or something.
Yeah.
Yes. Then my second question is with regards to level of responsibility and how you gauge it. You know, does it mean that you are it's at level E for most of the activities because you are mainly the one driving it, and how do you go about that aspect? Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely so the beautiful thing about a master's really is that everything in a master's you can own it at level E. That's the beauty with a master's, because you are literally the driver for everything. So everything in there you're going to, because remember, even with the impacts, you know, it's not like at the workplace where an environmental someone is going to do the EIA for you. It's literally you who's going to need to identify, you know, this solution that I'm proposing, what are the possible sort of impacts that can come with this. So actually, with the research, the beautiful thing, Refuel, is that you can own everything that you've done there, you can own it at level E. So then in terms of your, I don't know if I followed you correctly, because obviously I was distracted with copying the emails. But I think you were asking about the supervisor for your research, right?
Yes, yes.
No, so normally what happens with the research, you go, okay, this is another thing I need to say, because a lot of people are asking this. They ask me who must sign off the ER. Guys, the engineering report doesn't get signed off. The engineering report is pieces from your TR. It's components from your TR that tell the reader why you are competent. So remember, the TRs get signed off. So the little pieces that you take from the TR to the ER. The ER doesn't get signed off because it is a self-assessment tool. It is a tool that you are using to tell the assessor why are you competent. So, Refila, to answer you straight, you will see that somewhere in your TR, you are going to talk about doing the actual research, isn't it? And you will see that that research might span across a number of TRs, because maybe in TR4, you were doing the research questions. In TR5, you're doing simulations and getting answers. But obviously, when you write it in the engineering report, you are going to use the approach that I just told you now. Guys, did you see how straightforward you need to use it? It's not, you know, the minute you say I've referenced 50 papers, you've addressed outcome 3 and 7. You see that? The fact that you have a master's, I'm talking about people who have completed. The fact that you have a master's already tells somebody that outcome 1 and 2 you can clearly do because you had a problem. And by the way, guys, I want you to be conscious of this. It has to be an engineering problem. Some of the research that people do can be even engineering management. So in this case, I'm talking about engineering problems. So somebody sent, so guys have already, yeah, you can ask a question, sir. What is your name? How do you pronounce your name?
My name is Uzair.
Uzair.
Yeah.
And you know I can't say R, right? Uzair. I speak like the French people. Go for it.
Thank you so much for this presentation. It did open up quite a few. I didn't realize I could use it in every single, my master's in every single outcome, well, almost every single outcome.
No, it's all of them.
All of, yeah, okay. Yeah. So my question is, in my situation, I've done my master's, then went on to work for 5 years.
Okay.
Does now my TER periods, does one of them should be a master's and the other periods could be the rest of the work, or should it?
Okay, so yeah, what you're asking is very important, right? Because we have these people who do a master's full time before they start working, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you are somebody who did, let me talk about the 2 scenarios, and then you will just clarify for me. So there's 2 scenarios, right? There's people who normally do their BSc and then immediately they do their MSc, right? So somebody like that, when they because remember, when we talk about registering with ECSA, it is experience in industry, right? So definitely, if you did that MSc before you go into industry, you're going to have a standalone period that's going to talk about the masters. But what is important for those people to understand is doing a master's does not cut the 3 years down. Then I want to talk about the second scenario. The second scenario is people who do their masters while they are working. What normally happens with those people is that the masters, the different sort of milestones of the masters are going to fall into different TRs. Can you see why? You're busy working with something and then you're doing your proposal, you know, TR6, you doing the simulations, TR7, you now writing the document and submitting. So if you are doing it while working, which is part-time, your research is gonna be split in, because you have to write it the way it happens. So if your TR is from June to, say June to Feb, whatever happened in June to Feb, you capture it there. When you start the new TR, in terms of the research, whatever happened there, you capture it there. So you have to capture it as it happens. But if you do your master's before you go into industry, obviously it's going to be a standalone report. You see that?
Okay, thank you so much, because I didn't realize that before. I just went when I started working as being my first period. I didn't realize that I could add it in as a period to.
No, you know what? So obviously, remember that you have to have a minimum of 3 years to sort of apply for PR. Ne? But PR is about competence. So definitely doing that research has equipped you with certain competencies, and you have to own those. Nobody can take them away from you. I mean, it's almost the same as like getting retrenched and then you being punished for being, no. So the engineering report is about things you are competent to do. So guys, don't even, a lot of people panic, I'm not currently working. No, that's not a problem. If at the time you are working, you manage to capture all the 11 outcomes, you can submit. Because remember, that PR is going to help you get a job. I'm almost done. Yeah, so I see Refule's hand is up. Is that an old hand, or do you have another question, Refule?
No, it's an old hand.
Oh, it's an old hand. Guys, obviously I'm going to close the class, but I'm so happy that sort of, because also when I wanted to like capture this, I wanted to capture it in a very straightforward way, so that even if it doesn't matter what research you're doing, you can extract from what I've written from my research and use it. So if you guys confirm to me that, you know, it is captured in a clearly understandable way, then my job is done. I'm so grateful that you guys made the time. And you know, some of the people were saying to me, how can you do a class on Friday? Friday is time to live life. And it's so crazy because I'm doing it and I have my PR. So it's simple. You want the PR, you make the time. It's only an hour of your Friday. And then if you, obviously, if PR is not a priority, you won't make the time. So I really want to clap my hands for you guys, because you guys have literally paused to pay attention to this. Because this, I mean, a research, in fact, you know, it's so crazy. For me, if somebody's got a master's, I wouldn't even question any of the outcomes, because especially somebody who answers a problem that is at the workplace, like you are working at X, we have this problem, you do research to solve. That person, obviously the 11 outcomes I responded to. But obviously what I've noticed is like people don't even use their masters in the 11 outcomes. And that's how I arrived to doing this class. Because I would see under outcome 11, someone would say, I have a master's. And then I'm like, oh, all these other outcomes, you didn't write about your research. So that's why I really thought it's important for me to show you guys how can you use that research to answer the 11 outcomes. Guys, so it's time to say bye. I'm going to load this video. So guys, please subscribe to my channel, and you must like. Somebody told me, Refula, this is for you. Somebody said on the YouTube channel, the button for, you know, there's that bell. The bell lets you know whenever a new video is loaded. So apparently that YouTube doesn't have the bell. Me, I have no clue on how to solve that. So Refula, in the meantime, please can you find a solution for how to activate that bell, so that when we load a video, guys can at least get a notification that says a new video has been loaded. But with that, I'm going to say good night, and I'm going to say, guys, please stay safe. I know we are at level 2, but by no means does level 2 actually mean COVID has fallen. It's still there. So just carry on, you know, exercising the social distancing, washing your hands and everything. Thank you, Tandega. I see your hand, your clapping hands. Guys, good night. Let me try and save our video so I can load it. It's very important that we don't lose this video. There we go. I see clapping. Oh, this is so beautiful. Guys, you guys just made my night. I'm so touched. Thank you for that, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. And I'm here. So if, you know, like for you guys that are really passionate about this, I'm here. But what I don't want is somebody asking me, what do I need? No. So you guys know what the outcomes are, and then you just need guidance on how can I address these outcomes. That I'm here for you. All right, good night.
Good night, thanks.
Bye. Okay, this thing must not do that mistake it did the other day. But